China remains probably the only large country in the world still sticking to a zero-COVID approach to the coronavirus pandemic. For its citizens, that has meant never-ending restrictions, lockdowns, and regular state-mandated testing. And the signs are this will continue for some time, especially given an upcoming Communist Party Congress where President Xi Jinping is expected to assume a historic third term in power. Authorities want to leave nothing to chance, and that is a dampener for many ahead of a week of national holidays that begins on Saturday.
Passenger numbers here paint a gloomy picture of domestic travel. And this flight's headed to one of China's top tourist destinations. Upon arrival, the familiar sight of people dressed in hazmat suits are standing by to swab you. This is the city of Yan'an in northern Shanxi province. It's famed for being a wartime stronghold for the communists during the Chinese Civil War, a must-visit for party faithfuls. But its status as a red tourism hotspot hasn't shielded it from the effects of COVID-19 travel curbs. Nanling Shuang is a folk singer and, like many people from Yan'an, relies on travelers to make ends meet.
Visitors from all over the country have declined, so our income has also fallen. Especially for artists like us, life is extremely hard.
Nan says she hopes visitor numbers will pick up over China's national Golden Week holidays. It's a peak 7-day holiday period marking the founding of modern-day China. But the pandemic has hit hard over the last few years. One resident we spoke to, called Wang Zihua, said it was impossible not to notice the change.
3 years ago, tons of people would come here from all over the country and even from abroad to see this historic site. Since the pandemic, traffic has decreased dramatically. Tourists don't like to wear masks, and they don't like the idea of maybe not being able to go home if there's a lockdown.
Ahead of China's twice-a-decade Communist Party Congress, though, authorities are tightening restrictions even further. The country's leadership is set for a shake-up, and President Xi, who's expected to secure a precedent-breaking third term, has doubled down on China's zero-COVID approach to ensure stability. From lockdowns to constant testing, there's plenty of fatigue, anger even over COVID restrictions, but people don't like to talk about it openly. Earlier this year, authorities warned they'd take action against any criticism over the country's COVID policies. Still, there are plenty of signs of people cracking. This COVID testing booth was spotted recently sprayed with graffiti saying, "Give me freedom or give me death." In this video circulating Chinese social media, a man gets set off when security tell him to mask up while he's sitting alone in his own restaurant. Joe Mazer is a senior analyst at research firm Trivium China. He says people looking for a quick relaxation of COVID curbs after Congress are likely to be disappointed.
The main concern here is about medical resources, right? The government is very concerned that if it were to abandon COVID zero, you would suddenly have an overwhelming of hospitals, not enough medical resources to go around. What we may see is after Xi is firmly ensconced in his third term, and once sort of the political aspect has sort of been squared away, there may be some additional room for policy experimentation, first on a small scale, and then if it proves successful, on a larger scale.
It couldn't come soon enough for places like Yan'an. Nationwide, tourism fell by 28% in the first half of this year compared to 2021, according to China's tourism ministry. Many people's livelihoods here depend on a turnaround happening sooner rather than later.
Let's get more on this from Powen Wang in our East Asia Bureau in Taipei, which also reports on China. Powen, why is China still sticking to its COVID zero approach when nearly every other country has learned to live with the virus?
Well, we can say that the reason why China today is still sticking to its COVID-0 policy is because of the political prestiges. Because China, where the first outbreak was registered, has always wanted to show the world that it can control the pandemic better than other countries. For the Chinese government, from Chinese government's perspective, the zero COVID lockdown strategy has been successful by some metrics. Overall, China has been able to keep cases and deaths low compared with many countries, including the US. And the Chinese government has made that a point of pride, but now they are paying the price for the policy. However, we can also assume that if COVID restrictions are loosened, China will, see a potential uptick in cases. Hospital will be flooded with the patients, and the whole medical system may face a breakdown. And the low vaccination rate among the elderly, in one medical reason, Chinese authority used it to justify that ongoing disease control measures.
Now, does this mean that China will continue to stick to this policy even after the Communist Party Congress in mid-October?
Yeah, so far we don't see any, concrete timeline for easing COVID-0 policy in China. However, we do hear people suggest that the government should consider it comprehensively. On Sunday, Chinese commentator Hu Xijin said that, as China pounded its COVID-19 policies, epidemic experts need to speak out, and the government should conduct comprehensive research and make any study transparent to the public. He said the government should tell people what are the pros and cons of the policy for ordinary people and for the whole country. Usually, anti-government messages on social media platform will be censored, but this time it didn't. And many netizens joined the conversation and hope the government to do something. So we think under the pressure from the public, Chinese government will do something.
What has all this meant for the people in this country? The COVID-0 policy.
So Chinese government explained that because the low rate vaccination rates of elderly people, mostly above the age of 60, and because they're not. They're more like a conservative group of people, so they don't want to, get the vaccine, and that's why they are the potential threat for the country. Because if they got infected, then it will cause a breakdown for the medical system.
How is the COVID-0 policy impacting people's everyday lives, Pawan?
So as we saw that in the report in Yan'an, with the Golden Week holiday starting on October 1st, some analysts predict that there will be a drop in tourist numbers, and it may hurt the tourism industry as well. However, Chinese cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, Nanjing, and Xi'an, have advised the residents to stay put as the coming national holidays. They use this as an approach to reduce the risk of spreading in epidemic and flare-ups across the country. And experts have also noted that the residents should remain cautious as the country still faces pressure to curb the virus. And previously, we saw a lot of people, their livelihood have been impacted by the lockdown. Previously, There are some tragedy happened on social media platform, like a bus transporting residents to a COVID quarantine facility in Guizhou has crashed. And killing sorry.
It's a terrible tragedy. Pawan Wang in Taipei, thank you so much for joining us today.